All right. Well, welcome, John McBride, the legendary John McBride, to
Don't
my
say that.
In Conversation With. It is an absolute pleasure to have you.
Well, a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. So tell me, John, I'm going to introduce you first, technically. You
Okay.
are actually one of my producers, which I was extremely lucky to get. But apart from that, you're one of the most magnificent sound engineers and producers, I think, in music, flat bank. You're
Thank
also
you.
the owner of Blackbird Studio, which is probably the premier studio, one of the premier studios in the world, 100%.
Thank you.
And you started that in 2002, I believe, with your
Yes.
gorgeous wife, Martina, in Nashville, in Tennessee. And I think Blackbird has seen, I was looking the other day, obviously I recorded there with you, but I was having a look at the list of clients that you've had, and it is extensive, John.
It's a little crazy sometimes. I
couldn't
don't even
get
know
through
who's
it all.
recording here.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, perhaps you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and Blackbird and how that all came about.
Oh man. Well, I'll try to make it quick.
It's a long
I've
story, I
loved
know.
music. I've loved music my entire life, from when I was a little kid to now, and it plays a huge part in my life.
Yeah.
In the late 70s, I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, which is not exactly the cultural center of the universe. You know, there was a good live music scene in Wichita, but not a lot in the way of recording. You know, that wasn't a normal or a common thing there.
Yeah.
There were a few studios that were great, but I just thought I really want to be involved in music in my life. And to be able to do that, well, I don't really sing and I don't really play and I don't really write songs. So,
Oh, I've heard you do a little of all of that.
so I'd be a great singer, but wasn't for my voice. I'll tell you right now. I decided, you know, to get into sound engineering because I love audio and I love playing with sound and recording and doing live shows. I just love every aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And since I couldn't, no bank would talk to me in Wichita about a recording studio. So I ended up going live. I started live.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought some gear and I put up some, you know, little things in clubs saying PA for rent, whatever. Yeah. Somebody called and all of a sudden I went to work. And
self-made, man.
The way it is with most new businesses, every penny I made went back in.
Yeah.
And almost still does, really. You know, it's but I started off working in clubs. Mm-hmm. That's where I cut my teeth and got my 10,000 hours times many, and then got a bigger loan and moved into doing concerts, you know, 2,000 to 5,000 seat concerts, mm-hmm. and ended up moving to Nashville. We were busy. I ended up borrowing more money. I got hooked up with Garth Brooks and became Garth's sound company and its production manager in the early 90s. Yeah. And so that we grew and grew and grew. And then in 1997, I sold my live sound company to Clair Brothers. Mm-hmm. And a company now, Clair Global is what they're called. They're the largest sound company on earth and the best, no doubt in my mind. Mm-hmm. And for the next 4 or 5 years, from 97, when I had no debt, it was just so foreign to me.
Yeah,
I need
glorious.
Fear is a good motivator. And when you owe money,
that's true.
You know, you get out of bed because you got to work and you
got
to.
there.
Yes, there's a lot of responsibility. And in 97, when I sold the company, I still remained at the company, but
okay.
I just had, it was just I kind of was walking around in a daze for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Then I thought, I wanted to start a studio in the late 70s. Why not now?
It was the
And
time.
I ended up starting Blackbird Studio in 2002 in January.
Named after your beloved Beatles, should be
Yes, I'm a
mentioned.
Beatle fanatic, no
Mm.
doubt. And, there were a few Beatles songs I was thinking about. One was Strawberry Fields, one was Glass Onion, one, different songs. But Blackbird just had the
Something
right
special.
everything. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
Started recording and grew and grew and grew a little more. And then in 2013, started a school called the
Yeah.
Blackbird Academy,
Academy.
which is doing very well. The demand just keeps getting better and better and better. And it's actually paying for itself, which is shocking, and I love it.
Amazing.
And no, so now we've probably have 500 graduates, and I run into graduates on the road. I run into them in the studio. It's just really, really a great thing. The mentoring part,
Yeah.
especially when you get a little older, it becomes really important in your life. And I'm very happy that we have this school, and that we're starting a lot of careers.
Absolutely.
So
And if
my
you
life these days,
if you
normally I tour. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, we've just got a sound difference. Go ahead, keep going.
Oh, I was going to say, normally I'm at the studio every day.
Yeah.
If we're on the road, I still go out and mix my wife live, Martina McBride, and but this
You
year
just
with
recently had a #1.
I know it was crazy. I mean, we did the show
Amazing.
Songland, and that song went #1 on the country chart and #2 on the pop chart for a few days there. It was kind of
You
great.
know what? When you're putting Martina McBride, there's going to be a lot of people that are loving that. She's got a very strong fan base who love her,
Yes.
and that's a testament to you guys, really, because your shows are always phenomenal. You guys are always on point. You're wonderful people, and I think when you're a good person, it shows through. And obviously, your song choices, I mean, incredible.
Well, in Nashville, Tennessee, the #1 rule is nothing is more important than the song.
And the song.
And the show Songland, which Dave Stewart was one of the creators, I love that show because the song is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And Martina appearing on that show was just a blessing in a way. You get introduced to new songwriters, and you're working with 3 great producers and songwriters themselves.
Yeah.
While you're on the show, and great quality has got to come out of it, and that's what happened. And
Absolutely.
Girls Like Me was the song she recorded, and I love it. I got to mix it. It was fun.
Yeah, it pops up on my list all the time at the moment on Spotify. So when I'm driving through the United Arab Emirates, I'm listening to Your Lovely Wife.
Well, it's shocking to me that that music is so accessible now.
Yeah.
I'm really glad and I think people are listening to more music than ever,
Oh, absolutely. I think it's funny because I was talking to someone, I think maybe a week ago, and I said, it's such a sad thing that music is taking a real hit, like in terms of the creation of music at the moment, and artists not being able to tour, and that generation of finance that's kind of being cut away at the moment. But music and arts are the one thing that's kind of got us through the quarantine time. So it's imperative that it kind of keeps going, and that regeneration, and I think it will when everything opens up. The first thing people want to do is go to live shows. So
I think so. I'm afraid this year, I don't know if we're going to see any touring in 2020 or not.
They're still saying CMA Fest though in November. Is that correct, or October?
That I think they've rescheduled. Normally it would be this month, and along with Bonnaroo, which right now I think they have rescheduled in September, October. Yeah. But really, I think a lot of it depends on. It seems that a vaccine may be necessary before we allow
Yeah.
stadiums and arenas to be 100%,
Safe,
populated.
safe zone. Yeah. I hear they've opened up some of downtown and I was like, oh, that's a risk.
It's funny because a certain percentage of the population act like nothing ever happened, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. I would be, even with all the protests and everything,
Yeah.
look out there, the percentage of people wearing masks is kind of low, and it
Just
just
sad.
makes you go, come on, we've invested a lot of time into this quarantine.
Yeah.
Let's not blow it all right now and have a huge resurgence. But
Yeah, it's such
time will
a precarious time at the moment. I think, no one expected, no one was prepared for 2020. It's
no,
only 6 months in and it's been one of the most challenging years to date for sure.
it has.
Particularly for Nash, because you had that tornado to begin with.
We did in
And
March, yeah. And
yeah,
later that month, the COVID quarantine hit. Oh,
it's
we've had
it's a hit.
a lot
But
of that
on a
protest.
different note, just to deviate there, can you tell me? I know I've heard a lot of these stories already because I was there with you and always asking you about your stories, and you were unbelievably kind to me in driving me around Nash and taking me everywhere that you did, and listening to all the song choices with me that we went through, which was extraordinary, and I can't thank
Yeah.
you enough for that. But in terms of the stories about Blackbird, and maybe you could just do a little bit of name dropping as to who you've had in, instead of me going through that list. I mean,
Oh, it's funny. We have 8 or 9 rooms here. Well, we have 9 rooms. One though is rented full time by one guy,
yeah,
but the other 8 rooms, you see a huge variety of people come through.
yeah,
Um, some of the highlights in my life, Queen being in here was pretty great. I won't lie. It was wonderful. They were making recording some of the music for the movie. This was, a year and a half ago.
yeah.
And it was just beautiful. Bands like Rush, Steven Tyler,
Mm-hmm.
um, Kings of Leon, White Stripes, Tours,
Mm-hmm.
a ton of country records we've made here. I
Every
mean,
country record, let's just put it out there. Everyone, Taylor
well,
Swift, everyone. I mean, Ed Sheeran was next door when I was in there for a
right.
little while. Camila Cabello, you've had Bon Jovi, a personal fave.
Yes,
I remember the
yeah.
story. What was the story about the guitar that they left?
Oh,
Richie Sambora left behind a guitar.
yeah, it was probably 10 or 11 months after they'd finished their record. We have a lot of guitars here at Blackbird. One of the differences about Blackbird is we have a ton of band gear, and
The
and
best and most amazing collection
it's these are
ever.
all tools with which to do the job, and we have 4 or 5 pre-war Martin acoustic guitars.
Mhm.
And Richie called and said, "Man, did I leave a 38 Martin D18 there?" We went and checked inventory and found his guitar. It had been put in with ours because everyone just thought it was one of ours.
Of course.
And the best phone call I ever got to make was to call him and go, "Hey, we got your guitar." He was so
It's
happy. It
still
was.
here, Richie. It's still here waiting for you. And in terms of artists that you've worked with, because I mean, you've worked with everyone. Who,
Well, some, yeah.
who are like sentimental, not sentimental, but even like artistically for you to work with? Do you have a highlight of even a song or an album, a record?
You know, every project that I get involved with, I don't care what it is,
Yeah.
I'm trying to put my heart and soul into it because I want it to be the greatest thing that ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously rewarding getting to make records with my wife, which is a beautiful thing. The fact that our careers complement each other and we're able to work together, I love that.
It's
But
incredible.
Stevie
A love
Nicks was,
story.
oh yeah, it's been good. So far so good. Um, Stevie Nicks was
I
a
was
real
going to
high.
say Stevie. I was hoping you'd bring up Stevie.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Dave Stewart and Waddy Wachtel
Mhm.
co-produced that record.
Mhm.
And working with Dave and Waddy is, I don't care who it is, it's going to be a great time
Yeah.
and high quality, because these guys, they play, they write, they know their way around
Mhm.
everything. And it's great to work with people you really respect. And so that was one of the highlights. I mean, you know, I've worked on a lot of different records, but I just love music and I love audio, and I will never retire because this brings me joy in life, doing what I
I
get to
mean,
do.
Studio C for me. I mean, every studio. I was so lucky that we used a fair few of the studios when I was recording, and when I come back. But Studio C for me is just something so special. The aesthetic value of it, the acoustics of it, and every time we go in, you always pop on, you know, like Elton John, and the acoustics of that room are just, it's heaven. It's heaven.
You know, it's important. You know, great rooms are, you know, it's just a huge part of when you record. When you have a great room
Mhm.
and the sound of things in that room inspire the players, then you get a better performance. And, you know, acoustics are important. And, you
Absolutely.
know, it's still, you know, even when you do everything right and build a great room,
Mhm.
there's still a 50-50 chance it may not sound great.
Yeah.
But we've been fortunate and our rooms are all pretty great. And you find that the more music that is made in those rooms,
Mhm.
the more the rooms evolve and get better and better and better.
They have a life to them almost.
Yes. I
Yeah.
got a call one day from Tim McGraw. He was, I think, recording in D, and he goes, "Dude, I just had to call and tell you that I can feel the music coming out of these walls."
Yeah.
And it was one of the greatest compliments. I'm pretty sure he was sober at that time too. I'm kidding. Anyway, but no, but that he's
He
exactly
and Keith are both pretty sober these days.
right. I think so. It
Very.
works out a lot, you
Yeah.
know.
But
But no,
I remember seeing the photos of Keith Urban in Studio C, and I was like,
yeah.
that's where I want to record.
Oh,
That's where I want to
yeah.
record. And you know,
Love,
that was when we first started talking. Of course, it was initially through David Foster, the
yeah.
legend that is David Foster, and a dear friend of mine. And then that's how I got to you. And because I'd said to him, I want to work with the Huff brothers, because and lucky for me, I was able to. Yourself, I had the dream team. I had the dream team.
Well, if I'm involved, I want it to be the best it can possibly be, and I felt like Dan Huff and David, his brother, Dan, those two have made so many great records, and Dan, as a guitar player, is probably one of the 10 best on planet Earth. You know,
Yeah.
he's an amazing player, and
Mm-hmm.
he has great ideas and knows how to write a hook.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm going in to help on a record and I want it to be the greatest it can be, I want a team
Yeah.
that makes it happen. And we had a killer band, and oh, it was
Yeah,
just a
Dan
wonderful time.
Dugmore. We had Dan Dugmore.
Love him.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, there was such a big team there, some guys in from LA that you had worked with.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember everybody too. God, you
That
know,
was
it turned
a big
into a
team.
blur. We've made too many records, and one of the
It was a big
great
team.
things about
And I
Nashville.
mean, you know, when I look back at those two singles, I mean, of course, we were so lucky, and I was so lucky to get the songs that I did, being an unknown artist. That was thanks to you. But at the end of the day, I mean, the song still went number 6, the second went number 10. So you can't ask for more on iTunes. You know, that's such. I was
Yes.
that was a dream for me. So that was thanks
Yeah.
to you.
Tell you what, I'm a sucker for a love song, and Easier to Apologize. Really, I love that song. I mean, I love High Definition too, but
Yeah,
Easier to Apologize is the one that hits you. You know,
it
I'm
does.
a, you know, I'm a sucker for a love song.
You and I both. You and I, and you know my taste in music. You and I have shared many times over chatting about our taste in music. I'm a bit of an old soul, as you know, when it comes to song choices. So,
Well, I was really proud of the work we did together. I felt like it was great, top notch, you know, and
yeah,
it sounded great and you sang great. And it was just, you know, it turned into music, you know. I mean,
yeah.
I always say nothing's better than a tracking day because you
Yes,
go in that morning and there's nothing, and you leave that night and there's a song or two that could change the world. You don't know.
yeah. The tracking day for me was just such a surreal moment, and I really just sat back, and obviously I wasn't recording vocals, and I just wanted to soak in that team, everyone, the collaborations, everyone bouncing off each other. And instead of, you know, someone recording, you know, bass in LA and then someone's doing here in New York or
Right.
wherever it may be, everyone was in that room, and that's just amazing.
Well, you know, Nashville, one of the secrets to the great music that gets made here, I won't say it's the last bastion of everyone showing up at the same time to make a record, but it
Yeah,
happens more often here than in other places,
yeah,
especially the last few months. Um, since we opened, I think it was May 7th, maybe. Somewhere in there, the 11th, I can't remember. But
yeah,
the tracking rooms have been full. You know, Thomas Rhett came in for a week. We've
yeah.
got
It's
Skip
amazing.
coming in a week or two to make a new record. We've had a lot of different artists recording tracks because there's a certain magic that happens when you have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 players
Yeah,
in a room, you
yeah.
know, where they play off each other.
Hmm.
The just it's just more fun to make a record that way than to,
Absolutely.
okay, I'll lay down a drum track, I'll lay down the bass track, I'll lay down the keys, I'll
Yeah.
do this, I'll do that. Everything's perfect, it's gridded, it's, you know, and it kind of sucks all the soul out of music sometimes.
Absolutely.
so,
And if you
so,
could, if there was someone that you have not worked with, or perhaps that you have that you would like to again, but if you had anyone, and you can't say your wife because she's your wife, so
you know what? I'll tell you who I'd love to work with on any level,
yeah.
Jeff Lynne.
Okay.
I think he may be one of, maybe if not the greatest producer on earth, one of them.
Yep.
And I would just love to be around that guy and see how he operates.
He's
Excuse
a
me.
genius.
And I've always just had an immense respect for that guy.
Hmm.
But Paul
And
McCartney, at the end of the day, would
yeah,
kind of be the
that
that
really
would be the ultimate. Yes,
moment. I'm
it would.
surprised he hasn't been in there before.
You know, it's funny because everyone in his road band is recorded here, but
You've got
not
to get
him
him in,
personally.
John. You've got to get him
Especially
in.
when the studio was named after one of your songs. Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Come on. I'm going to track down some people. I'm going to send something.
Well, I think,
Here's
you
the
know,
deal.
McCartney would love this place because we have the same work ethic he does and the same standards. We know the bar is way up here,
Yeah.
and that is important. And he was always kind of a perfectionist, you know, in the studio.
Hmm.
And I think he would have the time of his life here. I'd love to record the Stones or Jagger also,
Yeah.
because Dave Stewart's been talking to Mick about making a solo record, and
Hmm.
Dave's let me know he'd do
Mick's
it
a
here.
great guy. I've had, you know, I met him at Brett's house years and years and years ago. And it was funny, I was so young, 23, and he was telling me about how I looked like his ex-wife, Jerry Hall. And
Oh,
I was 23, I had no idea, but my mum was there and she's like, she thought it was amazing, but he's
yeah.
phenomenal for sure. There's so many great musicians and so many iconic bands that have come out of the UK, you know, when you think back, the Beatles,
Yeah.
Stones, Elton John, your personal
Oh,
favorite of mine. I really love Elton John, so
yes. Led Zeppelin. I mean, so much great music.
yeah.
Jeff Beck. I'd love to
Yeah,
work on a Jeff Beck project too, because
yeah. And in
every great
terms of,
guitar player
before, I
loves
don't
Jeff.
want to keep you for too long because you know what, you and I can talk for for ages,
Hours.
but hours and hours, days. But if you had any advice for, obviously you've got the academy, so that's predominantly your sound engineers, your the nuts and bolts of really how to make a record, not in terms of being an artist or a singer, but in terms of the nuts, the producing element of it.
We have had some artists come through and songwriters because they want to learn how to record great demos, because the better the demo, the easier it is to get the song cut.
Yeah.
So we've had, some of those. Louise Goffin just graduated from here, who is Carole King's daughter. Louise has put out 10 albums. She's in her 50s and she came to school. It was shocking to me.
I think that's great though. That's, that just shows the dedication, that shows the passion behind it, and being real also, not just having something handed to you because.
Yes. Well, the funny part is I know she learned a lot and it's broadened her horizons, and we were so happy that she graced us with her presence. It's been really interesting. Alison Krauss's son came through here. Yeah. Scott, the drummer, who used to be the drummer for Train, went through the class. He had a studio at his house, but wasn't happy with his sounds, and came through the course, and now he makes incredible sounds.
There's no place like Blackbird, and I don't think it's just the rooms. I think it's the people, John. I think, your team, even down to Amber at front desk, and everyone made me feel so incredibly welcome there. And studios, they're an intimidating place to walk into. There's a certain element, the big rooms and everyone doing what they need to do, but there's a real atmosphere at Blackbird. And I've been to Abbey Roads and I've been to other studios, but Blackbird is special, I really truly believe, because of you guys.
Well, I think the key to that, I think that I've surrounded myself with a lot of passionate people.
Yeah.
And everyone wants more passion in their lives, I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
But when people from, that come in, see how passionate everyone here is, I think it's like a magnet. It just makes you want to be around that. And
breeds it.
It's just, how could we not be passionate when we get to record great music in these rooms with the right microphones and the great thing, one other great thing about Nashville is the quality of the players here is unbelievable.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
They really make our job easier because they give us such great input. It's hard to mess it up,
Yeah, well, I for one, am certainly looking forward to post-COVID and 2020 teaching us the lessons that it has. I've been writing a lot, as I told you, but I'm really looking forward to getting back in and, even seeing you guys. But there's a few tracks that I'm really looking forward to getting underway. But I think it's going to be 2021 by the time you guys open your borders, the US. And
probably. I got to show you my
passport.
I got to show you my latest piece of gear. Here you go.
Oh my God, did you actually get them printed?
Yes.
That's brilliant. I'm surprised you didn't put on EDU Rock or,
Oh, we just did Blackbird on the.
That is so cool.
I love it.
How many did you get? I need to get it sent to me. I'll gladly walk around with Blackbird.
I'll set aside a dozen for you, and hopefully you'll never need them.
Yeah, true. I think I'm going to for a while. It's illegal to you get fined if you're not wearing one here. So
they should probably do that in America. It's shocking to me how many people will go to. Oh, by the way, my yard looks better than it ever has because I had a couple of months there with not enough to do. So
did I not see was it a leaf blower that got thrown into your pool?
Oh, well, that did happen, I guess.
I was like, that must have been a good day.
After 45 minutes of yanking on this thing and it won't start and your shoulder hurts.
Martina has a lot of followers on Instagram and we all saw it.
Oh, man. It felt really, really good. And
I'm sure it did.
let me tell you the after story. We fished it out of the pool, took it apart, rebuilt it, and it starts better now.
No,
I'm still using
no.
it.
So your advice is, if anyone's having trouble with their leaf blower, a mower, anything, just throw it into the pool, leave it for a half an hour, give or take, fish it out, and Bob's your
And
uncle.
take it apart, maybe put in a new spark plug. That's probably not a bad idea, but
That's a good start. That's a good start. So you're hoping,
no,
just to
that
tie things
day,
up, you're hoping that you'll be able to get back on the road. You're thinking it's going to be 2021.
probably. I mean, I still fantasize this fall we may be able to do something. I mean,
Mm,
smaller venues, I'm sure will open first, and I'm hoping that maybe some theaters were able to. But
yeah,
you know what? I don't want to waste all the time we put in already. I don't want
yeah,
this thing to come back harder. So
yeah,
if it's 2021, it's 2021. It's just part of life. You
yeah. It
have
is.
to
It
deal.
is. And you've got all your girls at home at the moment?
Yeah, we
Well, that's
do.
the blessing.
It is.
Brought all the
It is.
chickens home.
I'm ovulating right now. Anyway, I have
Chickens
three
everywhere.
daughters and a wife, and I need a
As
kid.
long as you've got your girls and your Dr. Pepper.
I guess occasionally I need to be careful with the Dr. Pepper, but I love it. It's kind of my lifeblood. I won't lie.
It truly is. I think you'd have like an IV of Dr. Pepper running through your veins.
Man, but no, it's been an interesting year, and I feel like the whole situation with George Floyd, and it really brought the attention to that America needs to get its shit together, and I think it's going to make for some great changes here that need to happen.
Absolutely. I think, the election come November is going to be very, very interesting to
Yeah.
watch. And, just with all the conspiracy theories that people throw around, I kind of have to bring it back to, this is a humanity issue. This is not even a political issue at the end of the day. This is, where's the distribution of funds and money going throughout such an affluent country, and that's where it stems back to.
Yes.
But the thing in music, sorry, again, I'm jumping, sorry to keep you so long, but when you look at music, the Black community have brought music to a whole nother level in history, in everything. What would we do
Well, if it
without?
weren't for the blues, we wouldn't have rock and roll. So it's we're all we're all we're all people, and
Yeah,
the sooner we can get over the bad treatment of people just because they're different, the
yeah,
better. We have to get over that, and
absolutely.
let's hope it happens. I really
Yeah.
I feel like there's progress. I've been learning a lot actually.
Hmm.
I didn't really understand the full meaning of like white privilege,
Yeah.
and you watch some documentaries, you read some articles, you talk to people, and you find out, man,
Yeah. You're like, shit. Okay.
need to change,
Yeah.
and I think they will. I really do.
Let's hope so. I mean, you can't go through such a revolution as you guys are going through, and even globally. I mean, Australia has a lot to say, in terms of our treatment of the Aboriginals and the Indigenous culture that we have. We've
Yes.
certainly not been, angels ourselves in Australia. So I think it is time for that change. You strip.
Yeah.
The thing is, you strip someone down. Everyone's exactly the same internally. So it just blows my mind that anyone would judge on whether someone has more melanin in their skin. It's just so ridiculously bizarre.
It is. It
Yeah.
really is.
But on that note, I think everyone should be getting into Nashville, because Nashville is not just country music. People think that it's just country, and it's not at all. It's every genre of music, and the best of the best, and live music really is the guts of humanity, of people getting together and enjoying and relating to a song and feeling that, and that memory or that experience or that first kiss and that song was playing, or whatever it may be. You know, music is so important, and you have certainly been a pillar of the music community, and I don't know what we'd do without you, John. You're amazing.
Oh, well, you know what? All I care about is we keep making great music, we keep the standards high,
Yeah.
and we keep changing the world for the better. That's my hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much for joining me today. I'll press the record button off and then have a quick little chat to you after, but thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Well, the pleasure was all mine. Thank you.
My pleasure.